Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. Welcome to the Grow Tent, everybody. You have found the best growing channel on YouTube, man. The place where we simplify the approach for you so everyone can learn how to grow. We make it so simple, even I can understand. So I'm going to listen and learn right now.
Woo! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Grow Tent. We got a great episode for you today. Today we're going to be talking about what is probably one of the most misunderstood and difficult aspects of growing. I think we've talked quite a few times over the years of some of the most difficult aspects of growing is always the drying and the curing. You can grow the best plants ever, and if you mess these two steps up, it's detrimental, and all of your hard work will be for nothing because you can actually ruin your entire growth really easy in these two last aspects. So today we're going to be going over the 4 different methods for it. What are the pros and cons of each one? As far as like cost, simplicity, how difficult it is or how easy it is for new or even experienced growers. So today we're going to be talking about 4 different methods for it, or the 4 different ways that you can do it, and which one might be right for you, especially with the difficulty or ease of it part, and then we'll factor in the cost of it as well. But first, as always, it's the intro, guys. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, watch the full video. If you want to share it, be my guest, but if you don't, I don't have any problem with people not sharing, this kind of content. A lot of people don't like to other people know what they're doing, so. But if you want to share it, you will you will definitely not hurt my feelings. Guys, today is the very last day of our merch drop. We've got 3 new t-shirt designs. It's not this one. I only make my t-shirts one time, then I never make them again. You do get free bonuses when in your orders. So there are always free gifts in there. But today's the last day for the merch drop, and then it goes away. You can go hang out or go check out what stickers, shirts, that kind of stuff over at WTTGT. It's a really good time to be a member. All right, so today let's just get right to it. So today we're going to be talking about curing. Curing is a often misunderstood, and it used to be extremely difficult. With these new methods that are out and these new machines that are out, it's become a lot easier. And not even machines, some of these bags that we're going to be talking about today, they've made this process so much freaking simpler. And what used to be one of the most difficult or misunderstood aspects of the grow has actually become fairly easy. You can still do it the hard way, but it's actually become relatively easy to accomplish. And with some of these methods, they've actually combined the drying and the curing into the same thing. I will say right off the bat, this is not a sponsored video. We don't actually have any sponsors on this channel. It costs us a lot of money a month not to do that, but I do think the information may come across instead of being like, oh, hey, we're getting paid to say this. There's no sponsors on this channel, guys, so anything you hear me say, it's what I actually think. And I rather enjoy or rather like that aspect of it. So, anytime I'm talking about stuff, especially when it's a product, it's just what I think about it. All right, so today we're going to go over a few different things. The first method is the oldest method, and it's also the most difficult. It's the slowest, but it's also the cheapest. So what we're going to find here is we're going to have a couple different categories. We're going to have speed, difficulty, and price. So we're going to have those 3 categories. And the varying degrees of difficulty, we're going to go over for all 3 of them. So the first method is just the traditional hang your plants up, let them dry, check the branches for when they crack on the inside versus break on the outside. Just a regular dry. Generally that takes, depending on the size of your plant and the environment you're able to maintain, generally that's going to take you anywhere from, for just the drying aspect, 8 to 18 days. Big plants take longer, smaller plants don't take as long. So just that drying aspect will take you 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the size of your plant. And then you would go into jars, something like this, they're called they literally say just ball. I don't know if you can read that on there. I can't see the other side of the screen, but they literally just say ball, like canning jars is what these were. They have the 2-piece lids on the top. I used to have the lid, but I don't know, Princess GT, who has strep throat right now, has misplaced it. So I just blame it on her. It might have been me that misplaced it. Could have been high, and I don't know what I did with it. But they have these 2-piece lids. So the original method, the first method we would have for curing these is we would, after we dried it to what we would like, we would then trim up the plant and put them in these jars. We would fill the jar about 3/4 the way up. We would never fill it all the way up because doesn't leave much room for gas expansion. And then we would burp these things on a time slot over the next 4 weeks. So we would have 4 weeks of manually burping these jars. This can get old really, really quickly. This can get old because let's say you had a lot of plants. This could really take a lot of time. So we would be down there. This is still one of the ways I do it because, you know, I've been doing it for so long that I'm just used to doing the jars. But I could have 50, 60, not these small jars either. I would have the bigger jars. But I could have 50 or 60 of these that I had to burp 2 times a day for the first week. And then the week after that, I had to burp them 1 time a day. And I would leave the lids off of them for anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on, you know, what I was seeing with the bud and what the outside environment actually was. It would depend. So it was one of those extremely confusing parts for new growers. Like, how do I explain to somebody that I'm basing how long I'm leaving the lid off the jar based on what I'm smelling and what I'm seeing? It was a very hard thing to teach whenever we were talking about doing it this method with just the regular glass jars. It was really something you just had to do and kind of get a feel for to manage how long the lid needed to stay off, how often you needed to do it. So a lot of people would ruin their entire grows. They grew these most beautiful colas, which we had to break apart to put in these anyway. And then you would see all these grows get ruined during the drying and during the curing just because it's that big of a deal. You know, I famously had a couple videos go viral of me smashing hygrometers because so many people pay so close attention to them during the grow, and I don't really give a shit and or give a crap about a hygrometer whenever I'm growing, because these plants grow in every environment on the planet and they grow just fine. But the only time you won't see me smash those hygrometers is in the drying and the curing, because it's extremely important. Well, what those environmental conditions are would lead you to how long you need to keep this lid off. And if you kept it off too long, it got a little too dry in here. If you kept it on, you didn't keep it off long enough, things got yucky in here. And it was one of those parts that was just extremely difficult. Now the nice part is this is extremely cheap. These glass jars, you can use them over and over and over and over again forever. So you have the initial cost of these glass jars, which isn't crazy. You can get them in like big 16 packs and they're not expensive. And they last forever until you like dropped one of them or whatever, and then they shattered, and then you had to sweep up all the glass. But it's one of those things where you have a small upfront cost, and then you don't ever have to pay for it again. So for somebody like me that is really good at doing this kind of curing, it works great because these glass jars, they last freaking forever. The seals on the lids last forever. It just, you can get a ton of money out. You get a ton of return on your initial small investment with these jars extremely easily because they last so long, and they don't ever, it's not like they wear down or anything or they run out. But since then we have had some gigantic leaps in this technology of the drying and the curing aspect of it. And what used to kind of, we'll go with the cheaper iteration first, then we'll start getting to some of the more expensive ones. But like the first kind of thing was like the Grove bags or Groove bags. I don't know which way you pronounce it. I think it's Grove bags. But these bags, they're extremely cheap. I don't actually have any of them here because, once again, I do the glass jar method. But the Grove bags, but I do have buddies that do them, and they work really well, really well. They're only like a couple bucks a piece. You still have to do the drying aspect of it before you put them in these bags. But once you get them in the bags, they're more of like a set it and forget it kind of thing. You just kind of seal them up in there, wait your 30 days, open it back up. That's the trick, though. Stop opening them. Don't get out of there. I know you want to get in there and mess with them. Pull a few buds out. Don't do it. Just leave them in there for the 30. I know they're all pretty sitting in the bags and you want to mess with them. Just leave it in there. Leave it in that little sealed environment. They'll be just fine. Stay out of it. Stop messing with it. But the grow bags work really well. Now that does leave that you still have to do the drying aspect, which a lot of people do mess up, but this isn't a drying video, so we're not going to talk too much about it. But you still do have to do the drying aspect, and then you would trim everything and then throw it into the bags, set it, forget it. They're cheap. They're slow because you still have the full drying aspect, which we talked about before. That's 1 to 2 weeks. And then you have 30 days of leaving it in the bag. So it's still a 6-week process, just like these were, because it's 4 weeks of curing, 2 weeks of drying, 6 weeks. But once again, we're cheap, slow, but works well. So it works very well, but they're both slow and they're both cheap. And that's the same thing with the grow bags. Slow, but cheap, works really well. And it's way easier than the jar method because you don't have to be an expert on telling, how long do I need the lid off? How long do I need to do this? How many times a week do I need to burp? How many times a day do I need to burp? You don't have to worry about any of that with the grow bags. It literally takes all that guesswork out of it, and you literally just, as I feel like Billy Mays, you set it and forget it. I think it was Billy Mays that did that one. But and they're cheap and they work really well. The only problem is slow. So our first two methods, slow but cheap. All right. And one of the methods, the slow, cheap, difficult, or the grow bags, slow, cheap, easy. So it's that's the two methods so far, both of the slow methods. Now we'll talk about expensive methods, but with the expense comes speed and ease. So you are going to pay for, we've lost the cheap aspect and we've gone to pricey. But in place of cheap and getting pricey, we have also gone from slow to fast. So we get a huge, while we do have to pay for this increase, the amount of time that it takes it dramatically decreases. So while you are going to pay for it, the speed and ease of which it is done is astronomically better. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the Cannatrol. The Cannatrol has been around for quite a while now. What is it? Probably 8 years or so now, 7 years or so now. And they used to be extremely expensive. I remember when they first came out, I think they were close to, like, what was it? $2,300, $2,400 is what they used to cost. And they look like this. I put the growth bag up earlier. I don't think I announced it, but I did. But they look like a small, like a little wine fridge, or look like a small refrigerator is what they look like. It's about the exact same size and shape. And this is the easiest way there is to these. Whenever you do these dry and cure and work as storage at the same time, keeping all your stuff at a premium, like exactly where you want it. And you can keep them in here as long as you want. Like I know people that keep these things in here for a year. You just have to maintain that sponge at the bottom of it. And it's one of those things where the original cost was like $2,400, and then I think they went down to like $1,600, and now you can get them for like $1,100 something for like this style model. And then I think they have like limited editions that look like this, and you can pick these up for like $1,400. They got a bunch of different designs and everything on the outside. They got the little controller that sits on top. And these will dry and cure, I mean, depending on how much stuff you put in there, but in like 8 to 10 days. So instead of, like, let's just say 2 weeks for drying and 4 weeks for curing, so instead of 6 weeks, these do it in just over a week for the dry and the cure together. So while they do cost more, the value there is fantastic. I mean, absolutely amazing. The one drawback that they do have is their size, but Cannatrol will actually come out and make you a whole room if you want. So it's not like they only have this one version. They can actually make you a whole room that turns your room into a Cannatrol. But yeah, extremely, extremely awesome to see this price come down and down and down, because before at $2,400, it was a rather expensive machine, but it worked really well. And I know a lot of people even bought them back then because I would see the people with them. But now it like 1,100 and something bucks for like the brown model. That's pretty fantastic. These things are really starting to come down in price, and for a while they were the only ones on the market that kind of had this. Once again, this is not a sponsored video, just information. I do not own a Cannatrol. I do not own the next thing that we're talking about. I don't have any of these things. I'm just passing along information to make some of the hardest aspects of growing easier for you guys and giving you the choices that that are out there for you. The next thing is a new product that has not released yet, and that is going to be the V Cure. Same kind of principle as the Cannatrol. I don't think they have the sponge that is at the bottom of it. But once again, this is not out yet, so I don't know how well they work or anything like that. But V Cure is obviously made by Vivo Sun. But I know people are excited about it. I know the first 1,000 units that went out, they were only $650, but it was limited to the first 1,000 or the Founders Edition, whatever they were calling it. But the first ones were only $650, and I think after that they go to 1,000 or like $999 is where they're going to be priced at. So they're going to be priced right in there with the Cannatrols, within a few $100 of each other, and they look like they're relatively the exact same size. Or I shouldn't say exact when I say relative and exact in the same sentence doesn't really work, but I think they're relatively the same size. I think they're like small refrigerator style, and they're also claiming that dry and cure 8 days. So this is one of those things where all of these methods work. You just kind of have to decide what your financial situation was or is. It's one of these things where if you're always having a problem running into drying and curing, this might be a kind of an answer to your prayers. Or if you don't want to spend this kind of money and you still have, you don't mind the time, the Grove bags work extremely well. Or if you're a glutton for punishment like me, you can just keep rocking the old glass jars. Whatever it is, if you ever have any problems with it, you can always just email me at thegrovetent@gmail.com. That's the number 2, thegrovetent@gmail.com. And I promise you, I can walk you through whichever one of these you do, whichever one you pick, even if it's these glass jars. I've taught tons of people how to do them. I can teach you how to do them too. So, but with kind of with like all the new advancements, especially with like the Grove bags and Turk Tech bags and all the different ones, the Turk locks, this is really going by the wayside extremely fast. I don't think it'll be too much longer before this is really a lost art on how people are, on how it's done anymore. With the advancement and the cheapness of how this is going, I just don't foresee a ton of people too interested in this kind of method anymore. It'll just be us old guys that are still doing it that way. I think it'll be one of those lost arts here pretty soon, because with all the technology that's coming out, and especially now that there's competition in the market, that usually just drives prices down, which is good for us consumers, not good for the people that make it. But it'll be nice, because whenever I can just, I can't wait till these things are like $500, and I'm like, look, I know it sucks. It's kind of like buying an RO machine. It's better to just bite the bullet, get it done, and not even have to think about drying and curing ever again, because it's very difficult to really get those under control with everybody's different environments and where you live. And now it'd just be like, oh, dude, just throw it in there, set it, forget it, and come get your perfect plant, get your perfect buds out in 8 days. I think it's the way we're heading. This will be a thing of the past. And even as cheap as the Grove bags are, I think eventually we'll get to the point where those will, even start going by the wayside. Whenever you can just put them in these small fridges in your room, and they just take care of everything with speed. So I think that, we'll get to the point where people are like, hey, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And they're selling those things for $250, maybe half off. Whenever you buy a used one or something like that, $250 for perfect weed in 8 days. it gets to be a no-brainer at that point. And I think, that's kind of the course we're on. So once again, guys, I hope you guys all have a fantastic weekend. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you learned anything, please remember to leave a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time. And remember to head over to WTTGT and maybe check out membership. It's a really good time. See ya.